Hello, hello, my horror hounds. Sugar Pants here. Ahem, aren't you forgetting something? Oh, right. Sorry, everyone. In honor of today's feature, I've invited my mirror version to join me for this one. And I'm already regretting it. Ever the charmer. Greetings, my cinematic supporters. Confectionery pantaloons with you for another odyssey into the odd. Today's questionable quota is the 1990s Looking Glass lithograph, Mirror, Mirror. Hey, I asked you on to co-host, not to take over the show. It's a disheveled little ditty about a lonely goth high school girl who just wants to belong, and the evil mirror that starts granting her powers beyond her imagination. Honestly, it really feels like someone watched the movie Heathers and decided it would be better with some Twilight Zone Outer Limits shit thrown in, and then borrowed heavily from Carrie. Oh, come now, I believe that is a gross misrepresentation of the cinematic elements on display. You make it sound as if the studios simply failed to produce their own original content. While horror itself is part and parcel borrowing ideas from each other, that doesn't mean that each movie studio doesn't build upon its structural foundations and create its own unique direction. You are so full of horseshit. Don't think that you're going anywhere past the intro, because I'm already done with your pretentious ass. Very well, then shall we tender the excrement calendar? The what? The rottenest tally, the feculent schedule. Oh, for Christ's sake, it's called the sleaze docket. That is precisely what I said numerous times, and might I point out, you have been misspelling that word sleaze for 29 episodes. I did that on purpose, jackass, and yes, let's do just that, Lord Stick Up His Bum. We have 8 dead bodies, 2 dead dogs, 8 cups blood, 2 naked breasts, 1 naked butt. How's it feel being stuck behind that thing? There are an alarming amount of stains and dirty limericks back here. You'll be fine. You might even learn something, too. I very much doubt that. Corpse hugging. Corpse scalping, menacing flies cliche, maggoty chicken dinner, 1 massive nosebleed, 1 massive asthma attack, hand piercing, 3rd degree steam burns, broken mirror impalement, face chewing, lip chewing, neck chewing, head manipulating, hand in the garbage disposal, PMS shaming, mirror heavy petting, blood licking, backwards echoey demon speak, sandwich assembly porn, doppelganger make-out drowning, and post-Lily Munster Yvonne DiCarlo. We start things off in the not-too-distant past, when the world was sepia tone and constantly playing warbling crooners. So complete in my arms. Why does that sound so familiar? When I held your brain in my arms. Oh yeah. The camera takes its time making sure we see all the photographs of these 2 women together, so that when the door bursts open and we see a body being dragged to the bed, we immediately feel like there's emotional weight to the scene. The woman who's breathing closes the blinds, then covers the whispery, chanting mirror, then stabs the other several times. Blood sprays and the room shakes and the mirror shows us its vagina for a few seconds or something. Roll the opening credits for almost 2 minutes before the movie's dialogue butts in and gets us back to the action. In the dark, we hear 2 women struggling with a door that's stuck shut. When they get it unjammed, the movie gets back to the visual storytelling. Here we see Emmeline, a real estate agent, and her assistant, Mrs. Perfilli. They're going through a recently acquired property and finding a closet that's been locked for years, and the fancy full-size mirror that's been locked inside. And I want to take a quick time out to point out how much I appreciate this scene. Too many times in horror movies, a family moves into a new house, and there's always a door that's locked and hiding cool, demonic shit, until someone in the family gets curious enough to rip the door open. Like any fucking real estate agent would sell a property without knowing what's behind every door. Oh look! Could Good thing we cut this door apart, because this walk-in closet will add a good 5 to 10% to the asking price. Holy shit, we almost missed this because we forgot that we live in a world where locksmiths and demolition crews exist. It is a lazy, stupid trope, and I'm sick of seeing it in horror movies. If the original owner locks the door and then dies, leaving it for a family member to find, that's one thing. But a real estate agent tasked with selling a house who doesn't open up every door to see what they've got is just pure Hollywood bullshit. Even if that door was sealed by supernatural forces, that sleazebag real estate agent would call a fucking priest if it meant a bigger commission. Anyway, back to the actual movie. The two ladies are scrambling to get the new house in order because the new owners move in tomorrow. Emmeline finds a diary of the previous owner and lets us know that she has a bit of knowledge about her, calling her
crazy as a loon, you know.
Perfili has to leave for an appointment, and Emmeline says she'll finish up. After looking through some books about the occult, she gives her card to the furniture movers before they lug the mirror down the stairs. Jump ahead to the next day, and the new owner, Susan, is speaking with Perfili, and that's when we're introduced to Lydia, Megan. She's our dollar store Winona Ryder, and the first line is mopey, 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 so there's no chance we'll mistake her as anything but goth. Susan puts her cigarette out and stuffs the butt into the disposal for some heavy-handed foreshadowing. Megan asks where her room is, and they head upstairs, and uh-oh, the mirror is there. Megan goes straight to take a look at it, and Perfili says it shouldn't be there as it's part of the Weatherworth estate. Megan says she likes it and is told they might be able to arrange a purchase. We immediately cut to the school where the kids are all upset at Charlene's campaign. Oh, remember when people used to think high school politics mattered at all? So cute. Popular kids always win the elections, the AV geeks continue to play Diablo in the computer lab, and everyone thinks the visiting anti-drug assembly is lame as shit. Seriously though, did anyone ever notice anything change after the student elections? I think the most I ever saw my student council do was refill the soda machines. Ron assures Nikki that she'll be just fine. The bell rings and everyone filters into class, and that's when we get a little catty between Nikki and Charlene that throws out more than a couple big boob jokes. The teacher grumbles at them and they filter in. Megan shows up late so that everyone gets a good spotlight introduction to her as she creeps inside. Jesus, we get it. She's goth. Black on black on black on black on black. There is such a thing as trying too hard, you know. Naturally, Charlene's already laughing at her. These high school movies never waste any time establishing the alpha bitch, do they? Awkward Megan knocks over the skeleton, and the teacher suddenly sounds like Hank Hill.
Could I have a little quiet, please? I'm trying to teach class here.
Megan runs off to the girls' room, and Nikki follows her, where she makes a one-sided attempt at conversation. Fortunately, the two have PE together, so we can have this clunky exposition talk. Nikki's parents are divorced, and Megan's father died 4 months ago. Also, Megan's mom has been visiting a psychiatrist, and Nikki babysits for Perfili. What a small world! I'm sure that coincidence won't come into play later on. Just then, we cut to Mom on the phone with said psychiatrist and complaining about being hot and that she doesn't know how the dogs are since they've only had them for 2 weeks. Just then, one of the dogs goes upstairs to specifically piss on the mirror right after the cleaning lady leaves. Emmeline is having her lunch and reading through the previous owner's diary, specifically where it says she has kept the evil locked in the mirror, and that destroying it is no use as it always returns. Just then the doorbell chimes and it's Perfili to tell her about the sale of the mirror. Emmeline swears she saw the movers unload it, but she just assumes she's mistaken. But she makes one last look to be certain, and she stumbles across more of Weatherworth's books. And we get more bitchy teenage drama between Nikki and Charlene.
Hey, Nikki, where's your new friend? What is your problem, Charlene?
She's a cunt. Ron then warns Nikki about Megan becoming another one of her noble causes. Christ. Adolescence really is a terrible time. I mean, fuck her for trying to be a friend to the new girl just because she's different and all. Megan comes home and finds Susan bawling in the kitchen because she's just found one of the dogs dead upstairs. Oh, now you can notice how the dogs are, huh? The doorbell rings and...
Hello, I'm from the Happy Valley Pet Cemetery.
This is my brother Daryl. That's my other brother Daryl.
Megan goes up to her room and mumbles that she wishes her dad was there, and we learn the mirror sees the world through a night for day filter. She touches up her eyeliner and has a teenage moment. At night, Megan is visited by her dad, but he's looking pretty haggard these days. You know, because he's been dead for 4 months. Megan retreats to the mirror and screams... And suddenly it's her mom instead. Ooh, was it a dream or real? Unfortunately, Mom's got too much of her own bullshit going on to be comforting or sympathetic at all, and just tells her to go back to sleep. Next day at school, Megan drops her books and Charlene's boyfriend Jeff helps her pick them up, and even seems nice enough until Charlene shows up and reinfects him with her cunty attitude. And it's time for theater class. Megan tells Nikki about the dream she had about her dad, and she swears it was so real. That's when Nikki tells her about Mary Weatherworth and how her sister died and disappeared and that everyone thought Mary was into witchcraft. And it's time for extracurricular art. Jesus, doesn't anyone actually go to classrooms in this school? Nikki sets Megan up with some extra clay to keep her busy while she works on her art project, a clay bust of her boyfriend. And with the super simple school day over, Megan comes home to find that Mom has invited the pet mortician over for a really awkward dinner.
Don't raise your voice at me.
I am not raising my voice.
You do not talk to me like that. I said you don't talk to me like that. I work too hard to deal with this stuff. I work too hard. I am a division manager in charge of 29 people. I drive a Dodge Stratus.
Suddenly the mirror is covered in flies, making sure we all know bad shit's about to go down. And that's when Bill notices his chicken leg is covered in maggots. Susan invites Bill to sit with her in the living room, but he insists he should go. Megan takes some plates into the kitchen and notices the dog blood stain on the table. Mom asks if Megan wants some dessert, but she turns it down and Mom goes to bed early. I mean, I know she's probably still grieving over her husband's death, but Megan's grieving the loss of her dad. I don't know, Mom, do you think you could step it up a little bit? Clearly somebody has to be the adult in this family. Next day at school, the girls are in swim class and we get the tired old new weird kid gets picked last trope. Honestly, the others are probably just scared that Megan's eyeshadow might create an Exxon Valdez situation in the pool. But last person automatically goes to Nikki's team, and I'm wondering why this giant fucking school only has like 20 actual students, so they're all forced to be in the same classes. Emmeline is doing some serious homework, reading up on the occult books from the Weatherworth estate, specifically how during the witch trials, mirrors were used as demonic gateways into our world. The demon would grant wishes and entice the victim to use its power until it gained the strength to come through, and that a black cloth was used to void the demon's power. It's lunchtime and everyone's wearing blue for some strange fucking reason, and the audio is all over the place. Loud crunching and breathless laughs. Jeff is starting to grow a pair of balls to replace the one Charlene's got in her purse, and he tells her to stop teasing Megan, but she just keeps on being the bitch. We cut to the mirror and blood begins to flow from the edge of the glass. At the same time, Charlene's nose begins to bleed. A little at first, but then she starts gushing like a faucet. The last remaining dog starts barking at Megan's bedroom door, and Susan comes out in her Smurfette cosplay to tell him there's nothing in the room. After school, Megan is talking about the incident with Ron and Nikki, and she swears she is somehow responsible. Nikki is skeptical, but wants to believe her. Ron asks Megan to test it out and try to make something happen, like making herself into a normal person. Nikki tells Ron to knock it off, and he picks up his snacks and goes to leave. At the door, he tells Nikki that she's not normal, that she thinks she's in a horror movie or something. But Nikki remains a good friend and sticks by Megan.
You know my code. Hose before bros. Uteruses before deuteruses. Got it. Ovaries before brovaries.
Back in her room, Megan sticks her bubble gum to the mirror and rubs it around for a while before putting it back into her mouth, and is a little too surprised to find out it suddenly doesn't taste so good. Next day at school, the alpha bitch and all her crew dress in black clothes, which gets some snide commentary from the teacher. During the test, Mr. Anderson singles Megan out for a really unnecessary statement about her not having the answers. He goes back to his desk to look over some papers and begins clearing his throat and coughing. Clearly struggling for air, he takes out his asthma puffer and takes several shots, but it doesn't help. Megan's angrily drawing circles on her paper, oblivious to what's going on, until someone shouts for help. We cut to Mr. Anderson being wheeled out on a stretcher and the other faculty members telling students to go on to their next class. Back at home, Susan once again shows just how incapable she is of being a mother and just asks Megan what she thinks of her outfit. Megan passes her off and we get some menstrual shaming from Mom.
I'm going to the store, Megan. Do you want me to pick you up some My Doll?
Jesus, great support there, Mom. Don't ask what's wrong. You might find out she's upset at watching her teacher's dead body being wheeled from the classroom. Megan runs up to her room. You know, she's been here a while now. Are we going to add anything to the room, or is it just going to remain the basic furniture she started with? She stares at the mirror and notices blood begin to flow from the top. She goes to check if it's real and is shocked to see that it is. Once the initial shock wears off, she begins to play with the blood and leans into the glass for an embrace. A demonic claw reaches out and embraces her back. This really gets the blood flowing, and Megan finally goes in for a taste, and she only breaks from her trance when the doorbell rings. It's Emmeline who gives Megan her card and says she was in charge of the Weatherworth estate and that she's here to take the mirror that was left by mistake. Megan says it belongs to her now, and Emmeline tries to charm her out of it by inviting her to the shop to pick out a better one, but Megan isn't willing to part with it. And it's the big campaign day for the school elections. Is it weird that this is taking up such a large part of the plot? Megan shows up wearing a sensible black dress, and apparently we've reached the she's all that portion of the show because no one seems to recognize her. But now that she's hot, everyone's a lot nicer. Remember, kids, if others don't like you, change everything about yourself until you fit in. Nikki is hating all the pomp and excitement over Charlene's campaign and says she wants to get even with her. Megan approaches and tells her things are going to be different and that she's really glad Nikki's her friend. Jeff steps up and asks if Megan will dance with him and sorta apologizes about Charlene's recent actions. And he gets awfully close to her considering he's already in a relationship. Ron takes Nikki to make out in the closet and Megan interrupts to ask if she saw her dancing, and she's very excited because she didn't ask for it to happen. Nikki asks what she means by that, but she doesn't really answer. Then Jeff walks by with his arm around Charlene, and Megan gets upset. Nikki tries to follow, but Ron keeps her from leaving. Jeff and Charlene are making out in his car, and she asks if he likes Megan, but he swears he doesn't. Megan watches from a distance, and suddenly Jeff tells Charlene to get out of the car, even after she attempts to give him a mouth hug. Skip ahead a bit, and Jeff has invited himself over to Megan's house to confess that he can't stop thinking about her. Immediately, he's on top of her on her bed, and Megan stomps on the gas. But before anything happens, Jeff says he's feeling confused and says he should go. Megan then asks,
Can he just leave like that?
And Jeff wonders who she's talking to. Suddenly, a pair of blood-red hands reach out and begin throttling Jeff. He gets pulled through the glass a few times, but whatever's happening is mostly implied. He just screams while being covered in raspberry jam until he falls down dead. Mom, finally showing an ounce of concern, calls from downstairs. Megan tells the mirror,
Get rid of this mess.
And Jeff's body just disappears. Mom steps inside to ask what was that racket, and Megan tells her to just go back to bed, which she does, and we find Mommy's banging the pet mortician. Nikki's feeling down because she lost the election, but Megan assures her that she's going to help. Nikki reminds her that the elections are over, but Megan just insists things are going to happen. Back at the house, Emmeline is letting herself in, and that is why the first thing you do when moving into a new house is change the locks. She makes it to Megan's room to inspect the mirror and gets some stigmata for her efforts. As she runs away, the dog goes into the room and we hear some pained whimpers. During swim class, a girl asks Charlene about Jeff and why he never made it back home after the party, but she doesn't know anything about it. The cameraman goes all creeper mode and checks out the action underneath the water. Megan gives Charlene the death stare, and she's pulled under by an invisible force. Naturally, Charlene accuses Nikki, but she was nowhere near her. The teacher tells her to hit the showers and that she wants to see her after school. While showering, the water mysteriously turns off and an overhead pipe bursts, filling the room with scalding hot steam. Charlene tries to get away, but the door won't open. Pipes keep exploding and she starts looking more like Freddy Krueger, but no one hears her screams over the water polo match. Finally, class is over and the girls all go to the showers to find a roasted, bloody heap that used to be Charlene. Megan excitedly tells Nikki,
Congratulations, Miss Preston.
and that she told her everything would work out, but Nikki asks if she had anything to do with the accident. Megan says she should be thanked, but Nikki calls her a fucking nut and storms off. Back home, Mom asks Megan if she's seen the dog and then asks if she can go out to dinner with her. She then admits that she hasn't been there and she wants things to be better between the two of them. Well, it only took 71 minutes of the movie. Unfortunately, it may be too little too late, as Megan's not really interested anymore. She goes to her room and finds the black cloth Emmeline dropped. At school, Nikki is avoiding Megan, but she corners her in the bathroom stall. She asks if they can do something together, but Nikki asks to be left alone. Megan insists she's in control, but Nikki doesn't want to hear any of this anymore and shoves her out of the way. Suddenly, Nikki drops to the floor in pain, and Megan says that's her control, and she can stop it if she wants, or she can make it worse. Unfortunately, someone else needed to take a shit, so there's an extra set of ears in the bathroom. She then says that there is something haunting her house, and it's giving her powers, and Nikki can have power too. She says she took care of Charlene for her, but Jeff was just being careless. Nikki asks if Megan knows where Jeff is, but she doesn't reply. She only insists that she knows for sure that Nikki is with her and not against her. Nikki finally agrees that the two of them will do something tomorrow and takes off. Then the soundtrack gives us spooky steel drums?
Now it's time for you and me to have a little talk.
It's definitely an interesting choice. Nikki runs out to Ron and asks to borrow his car and tells him to wait at her house while Megan watches from inside the school. We then cut to a bloody Kim lying dead on the bathroom floor. Nikki races to Perfilly to ask about the Weatherworth house, which leads her to Emmeline's office. Emmeline tells Nikki everything that happened with the original owners of the house. Elizabeth brought up the demon and opened the gate. Once she started using its power, she was under its control. Her sister Mary killed her, thinking it would stop it. Emmeline says it's the mirror that must be stopped, and that she thinks she knows how to do that. She warns Nikki that the mirror will try to trick her, and it can read her thoughts. Lastly, she says to not ask it for anything. Emmeline says she'll meet up with her at Megan's house and gives her a knife. Emmeline makes a call to Father Jeffries, but is put on hold. The lights immediately start flashing, and a mirror in her room explodes, sending a giant shard of glass through her chest. Then the movie thinks we have time to watch Rod make and eat sandwiches for 47 seconds. A noise draws him away from his meal, and he follows it upstairs. He finds Nikki's art project with his face scratched off and calls out for her. He makes it to the bathroom and finds Nikki in the tub under the water. Hey, wait a second. His pants are pre-wet before pulling Nikki from the tub. So, either they couldn't use the first take in filming this scene, or Rod pissed his pants in excitement over his sandwich dinner. I'm going with piss pants. Nikki comes to without any CPR or anything and swears that she's okay. Meanwhile, Megan is brooding in front of her mirror. Back in the bathroom, Nikki is thrilled to be alive and gets busy living. The two fall into the tub and Nikki holds him under the water. Downstairs, Nikki walks through the front door. Hang on a second. Two Nickies? Phantom Nikki starts chewing off large parts of Ron's face, and the water turns red as he sinks beneath the surface. Real Nikki makes it there just in time to find the body and Phantom Nikki laughing in the corner before disappearing. Now remember, Nikki has seen absolutely nothing paranormal at this point in the movie. And I don't know about you all, but if I came home and found a phantom doppelganger laughing in the corner as it faded away, then fuck everything else, my fat ass is moving to Delaware. Nikki answers the ringing hallway phone. It's Megan telling her that she's the only friend she needs and that Nikki needs to come over to her house and that Emmeline won't be joining them. Just then, Mom knocks to tell her dinner is ready, but Megan says she's not hungry. Changing her mind, she tries to leave, but the door is locked. In the kitchen, Mom is shoveling dinner down the disposal. Jesus Christ, did Tupperware or refrigerators not exist in 1990? What a waste of food. Megan calls out to Mom saying the door won't open. The mirror lets Megan know what it's up to, and she cries out,
No, not her!
The disposal makes a jammed noise, and Mom shoves her hand down there. And I have to take a time out here to ask Hollywood to please, please, please stop killing people via garbage disposal. The kitchen is full of potential killers. Fucking find something else. The disposal kicks on and chews Mom's hand up real good, spraying blood all over. The mirror is sufficiently excited, and gallons of tobacco juice breaks through the glass. Nikki shows up just then and calls out to Megan, but we get a jump scare from Mom before she falls over dead. She tells Megan that she's decided to join her and that they don't need anybody else. She grabs a chair and tries to smash the glass, but Megan tells her there's nothing she can do. The mirror turns on the fans and Nikki retrieves the knife she got from Emmeline. She screams for Megan to stop it, but she cries. They try to run away, but the wind machine hits high gear and the front door is locked. They stand around looking for any way out and ignore all the giant fucking windows that could probably be smashed open pretty easily. Nikki runs to the kitchen door, but it's locked as well. She struggles up the stairs and finds Megan in front of the mirror. Suddenly, she disappears. The door slams shut and the wind dies. Nikki opens the door and finds Megan on the floor, blood all over her chest. The mirror starts calling her name and Nikki stupidly says,
I want everything back to the way it was!
And covers her eyes. Jesus, Emmeline was pretty clear with her instructions to not ask the mirror for anything, Nikki. This one's on your ass. When she opens her eyes, she's suddenly in the 30s, and she and Megan are in the place of the original sisters. The room starts shaking, a cloth falls from the mirror, and a robbed zombie werewolf creeper begins to emerge from the mirror. Nikki screams, and apparently it does. She covers it with the cloth, and that's all she wrote. And thank God, I was getting so much 90s high school girl angst, I was just about to break out my Veruca Salt and Letters to Cleo albums. Oh, come now, that would be a step up from the Aqua and Rednecks you normally listen to. The Cotton Eye Joe is a fucking timeless classic on par with anything the Beatles put out. And what about the Macarena extended mix single on cassette? Okay, I've had enough of this. Now, where was I? Oh yeah, Mirror Mirror is actually not that bad of a movie. My biggest issue with it is it didn't end up as trashy as I like, though it did give us some skin, blood, and a fair body count. I think the biggest issue I have with it is it takes too long to get going. Less brooding teenage drama and more demon magic would have gone a long way for me. The Craft definitely comes to mind when trying to compare Mirror Mirror to other similar concepts. In that one, we had just enough teenage angst to be relatable, but the story kept the focus more on the girls doing magic, which is what we all want. I mean, if all you wanted was high school drama, there are way more options for you. But high school drama horror movies, if I'm watching one, I want more horror than high school. Speaking of, our goth glamour girl Megan was played by Rainbow Harvest. And I can't even imagine what it was like going through high school in the 80s named after a Skittles commercial that didn't exist until 20 years later.
Harvest the rainbow, taste the rainbow.
She had a very short career that included one episode of Miami Vice and one episode of 21 Jump Street. Kristen DiTillo played best friend Nikki and has had a much longer career. Probably her most high-profile gigs include 9 episodes of Dexter as Detective Barbara Gianna, as well as playing Janie in the Aerosmith music video to Janie's Got a Gun. Ron, Nikki's boyfriend, was played by Ricky Paul Golden, but other places you may have seen him were Piranha 2, The Spawning, 1988's The Blob, 137 episodes of Another World, Romy and Michelle's High School Reunion, 59 episodes of The Young and the Restless, 228 episodes of Guiding Light, and 467 episodes of All My Children. Charlie Spradling, the stone-cold bitch rival Charlene, has been in a few other projects. Her acting debut was a small part in The Blob, but you could also see her in Meridian, Puppet Master 2, Ski School, and Bad Channels. Strangely enough, the actor with the most credits was the teacher, Mr. Anderson, played by Stephen Tobolowsky. You've definitely seen this guy elsewhere. Some of his other titles include The Philadelphia Experiment, Spaceballs, Mississippi Burning, Bird on a Wire, Basic Instinct, Single White Female, Groundhog Day, Josh and Sam, Dr. Jekyll and Ms. Hyde, 2003's Freaky Friday, 2004's Garfield, Wild Hogs, 11 episodes of Heroes, 8 episodes of Glee, and 8 episodes of Archer. But keep watching and listening for him because he's still adding to his 279 and counting credits. But of course this movie also has a pair of horror icons. First being Karen Black playing the self-obsessed mom who waited too long to realize her daughter needed someone to talk to. But I covered her in my review of Auntie Lee's Meat Pies. Go check that one out for more of the wonderful Ms. Black. Then there's the iconic Yvonne DiCarlo, whom everyone knows as Lily Munster. But she enjoyed a career spanning more than 50 years, going back to her first uncredited role in 1941's Harvard, Here I Come. I would give just about anything to time travel back and see the first audience reaction to this cinematic moment.
What do you think of it, Professor Alvin?
Attractive, almost too attractive, of course, but somewhat too attractive.
Oh, boy, not for me.
Nowadays, a girl must show her front.
Show front. Ain't you embarrassed?
Well, that'll do for another episode. So until I greet you next time, this is your old pal Sugar Pants. See you in your dreams.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, may I say, at this time, I may now die a happy man.